Trump denying that Russia is responsible for the recent hacks of Democrats, which of course flies in the face of what intelligence officials announced just last Friday. And joining me now is Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff, a ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman Schiff, nice to see you. I appreciate your being here.
Pleasure.
If you can, you heard from Donald Trump. You saw what he said last evening. Want to get a real-time fact check, if I can, from you in terms of what the intelligence is right now in terms of the hacking of Democratic information, emails, and other details that Donald Trump insists we don't know comes from the Russians.
Well, he's wrong, and he should know better. He was given intelligence briefings, but even if he hadn't been, the Director of National Intelligence, the Secretary of Homeland Security, issued a very strong statement just days before the debate, basically saying the Russians are doing this. They are hacking. They are interfering in our democratic processes, and this comes from the highest levels of the Kremlin. So for Donald Trump to get out there and basically hand the Kremlin propaganda to say we don't really know who's responsible is just appalling. But even beyond that, then to go on and say that in Russia, in Syria, the Russians are bombing ISIS, they're focused on going after ISIS, when in fact they're bombing civilians, and what they're really doing is just trying to prop up the regime. This is exactly what the Kremlin wants to hear. And it is so antithetical to our national security interests.
So let me play what Hillary Clinton said yesterday, specifically on Donald Trump and Russia. Here's a piece of Hillary Clinton tape.
They're doing it to try to influence the election for Donald Trump. Now, maybe because he has praised Putin, maybe because he says he agrees with a lot of what Putin wants to do, maybe because he wants to do business in Moscow. I don't know the reasons, but we deserve answers.
But I think Americans also have now Hillary Clinton's demanding answers for Donald Trump, as you just indicated, this relationship, a coziness with Russia. Donald Trump yesterday and on other occasions has hit Hillary Clinton for being responsible for the desired reset with Russia, and then clearly now there's evidence that that never served the purpose that she had desired. So doesn't Hillary Clinton have to defend her own record vis-a-vis Russia right now as well?
Well, I think what Secretary Clinton did is exactly what you'd want the secretary to do, which is she tried to see whether we could have a different kind of relationship with the Russians early in her tenure as Secretary of State, and it became very clear very early on that was not going to happen. And when that didn't happen, she was willing to stand up to the Russians, to compartmentalize and work with them where we had a common interest, but also to stand up to them. And that's what we need the president to do. There will be times where we act in concert, where we have a narrow interest that's aligned with them. But we need someone to stand up to Russia that is now invading its neighbors like Ukraine, that is bombing civilians in Syria, that is threatening our NATO allies. We don't need someone who has such a thin ego that he will respond with praise for someone like this merely because Putin says something nice about him.
Donald Trump appeared last night to struggle on the issue of foreign policy, specifically in relationship to Syria right now. Here's one exchange that he had with the moderator Martha Raddatz last night.
Why do they have to say we're going to be attacking Mosul within the next 4 to 6 weeks, which is what they're saying? How stupid is our country?
There are sometimes reasons the military does that. Psychological warfare.
I can't think of any.
It might be to help get civilians out.
And we have, look, I have 200 generals and admirals who endorse me. I have 21 Congressional Medal of Honor recipients who endorse me. We talk about it all the time.
So combat that claim, if you will. Donald Trump says, why are we so overt in our plans overseas? I have a plan, but I'm not going to share it with the world. What's wrong with the strategy that Donald Trump is presenting right now, given the mess that the Middle East is?
Well, the problem is that he really has no strategy. He has no secret plan. And he made it clear, I think, just a month or so ago when he said, perhaps in a slip, well, I would ask my generals to give me a plan. I have to think those generals and admirals that he's referring to that have supported him are mortified by what they have done and what they have seen. So he has no strategy. He proposed last night that we do a sneak attack on Mosul, a city of many hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people with a lot of civilians in harm's way. And what? We're supposed to sneak in the tens of thousands of troops that would be necessary under what? Cover of darkness, without any kind of provision made for those that are being used as human shields. So he has no idea what he's doing. Completely out of his depth, and this is a terrifying prospect in a commander-in-chief, someone that skinned with that kind of lack of judgment, making war and peace decisions.